council meeting Monday, March 28th, 2016, 7:02 p.m. Opening prayer is the Reverend Melvin W. Lindbergh. Reverend.
Good evening. Months ago I came and I had a couple of girls that didn't work and I had a walker. I have turned another year, I was sort of 84 and I've improved. All right. I just got a clip from a retired preacher who shows about 20 different clips of a guy dressed in white with a turban on and he's carrying a backpack. And in many different situations, he's walked past a restaurant with outdoor patrons. He drops his backpack and runs. He stimulates people to run everywhere. And there are many different things there, and we are in a place where that would be funny. Someplace in this world is not. And if somebody walked in the back, looked like that guy, and he threw a backpack, even I was running. But aren't we glad we have a country like we have, where we can discuss so many things here and do things to improve the community and the life, and also listen to political leaders, some whom we agree with and disagree with. But it looks like an election that's going to be a strange one to remember. And for this, we give thanks and let's pray. Our Father and our God, we are so grateful that we live in this great country of the United States of America and this world that you made. We pray for many countries and peoples that are dislocated or in war or turmoil or extreme fear. And we thank you that small things that may happen, like a local theft or something else, or a car wreck, and we get upset. But we fortunately live in a peaceful place, and we thank God for it. We pray your guidance and direction tonight as we meet together. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll. Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to excuse Member Warren? So moved.
Second.
Yes.
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 Keesley?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
And Surratt?
Yes.
6 yes to excuse Councilwoman Whaley.
Thank you. Before we go into consideration of minutes here, I'm going to welcome Tobias. He is a exchange student with us. He's in the 8th month of his exchange program from Germany. And he's staying with the Taskies.
Exactly.
Yes. I'll give the floor to you if you want to. If you have anything, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there anything that you would like to say or any comments?
I would like to thank the community that I'm having such an awesome time here. I've heard from other students that they are not as welcome in the communities as I am, but I'm just having a great time here. I'm having a fantastic high school. I'm having a great community with an even better host family, and I'm just happy that you, the people here, make me here just perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Moving on. May I have a motion and a second to approve as presented the council meeting minutes, March 28, 2016, and the special committee of the whole meeting minutes, March 28, 2016.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Fontaine?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Keesley?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
And Ford?
Yes.
6 yes to approve the minutes as posted.
All right, thank you. And at this time, we have recognition of visitors. Just a few reminders. There will be a 5-minute time limit per speaker. There will be no back and forth between folks at the dais and the podium once you've used your allotted time or have completed your statement. Please return to your seat. And if you have any questions, we still have the rules of council at the dais. Mary Beth, is that correct? All right, very good. At this time, if you wish to address council, please step forward, state your name and address.
President and members of North Canton City Council and Mayor Hill. My name is M.J. Albacetti, known in the community as Al. 515 Glenwood Southwest here in North Canton. I was the Executive Director Emeritus of the Canton Museum of Art, and now I'm an adjunct professor at Kent State University, Stark. And I'm here tonight with my worthy assistant, my wife, Pat, who's sitting in the back here. I just wanted to take a few minutes with some good news, pleasant news, to provide a quick overview of our activities since our last visit to City Council. We've done 3 major geo-art sessions at Kent Stark involving over 200 elementary and middle school students from various schools using our rapidly diminishing supply of our recycled cardboard triangles, squares, pentagons, and hexagons. The last session, just this Friday, we invited a representative of our recycled cardboard supplier, and suffice it to say that he was extremely impressed with this educational activity and how responsive these students were, as well as the teachers who were present to observe their students actually working on these tactile projects. So, I'd like to leave each one of you with one of our calling cards. It's a miniature icosahedron. We were going to give you a kit to build it yourself, but that would take more than 5 minutes. All of these were made on my own work table, which will serve as a reminder of our impending waste management grant that is still under consideration. By the way, it is our understanding that the state ethics policy allows us to leave these with you, since they were built at no expense to you. And the monetary value, if you need this for a tax report, is under 25 cents per piece. We don't have quite enough, but if you want, you can make a couple of extra ones. Does anyone have any questions?
What do you do with these?
You throw them around the house. They're very good for playing, whatever. Or you can take them, give them to your children or grandchildren, and take them to school, or leave them for the teacher for the school. But they're fascinating things. And a very important thing about these projects, they are tactile functions. The students have to learn geometry, the principles of geometry, to create these. They have to actually design and make them, and then they graduate from this size. This is just a demo for you. The ones that they make have a 1-foot module. Each edge of that piece there is 4 inches. Imagine that in 1 foot. And then some of the others that really get quite large. In fact, some of them are so large that the students, before they can complete them, they can actually get inside them. They like to be photographed, with one piece missing to get their picture. So it's been very exciting. It's really quite an adventure. And the next time we do one, I'll extend an invitation to all of you if you'd like to come and watch. I'll be happy to have you. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address council, please step forward, state your name and address.
Glenn Saylor, 340 Green Avenue Northwest. I've come tonight to voice my opposition to the removal of the city's designation as Dogwood City. At last week's council meeting, it seemed that most of the council members didn't seem to think that Dogwood was a good representation of our city and who we are. However, I think the dogwood is an excellent symbol of who we are. The dogwood tree is a small tree. It grows to around 30 feet tall. Compare that to an oak tree that grows 3 to 4 times that size. The dogwood size is in many ways symbolic of the small size of our city. However, don't let the size of the dogwood tree fool you. The wood of the dogwood is stronger than that of the mighty oak. This is a symbol of the strong institutions such as our schools, police, and fire, and our churches in North Canton. The wood of the dogwood is one of the hardest woods of any tree in the United States or Canada. Just as the wood of the dogwood can withstand dents and dings, so our city has been able to withstand the dents and dings such as the loss of the Hoover Company. The dogwood blooms forth with beautiful white, pink, and red flowers in the spring, and the leaves turn vibrant red-purple in the fall. This is symbolic of the beautiful neighborhoods and parks in North Canton. The dogwood also provides fruit for winter birds, and it's said that Civil War doctors used tea from dogwood bark to treat soldiers suffering from malaria. This is a symbol of the charity of our neighbors in North Canton who go out of their way to help their fellow neighbors. Contrary to what was said at last week's meeting, there are a large number of dogwood trees in North Canton. I have one growing in my backyard, and I know a number of neighbors do as well. Dogwoods are excellent trees to plant in our residential environment, and their size and shape make them good choices near utility lines. The city should undertake a more active role in encouraging the planting of dogwood trees in our city, including free dogwood giveaway programs. Unfortunately, the city of North Canton has dropped the ball on marketing ourselves as a dogwood city. Take a look at some of our neighboring cities. Alliance, the Carnation City, has the Carnation Parade and Festival. In the same way, Louisville, the Constitution Town, has its Constitution Parade and Festival. I cannot recall North Canton having any kind of event like this. And what is proposed for the new designation for the city of North Canton? The new designation is that there isn't going to be one. Hopefully the city didn't pay too much to the marketing firm that came up with that idea. If I were a stranger coming into North Canton for the first time, North Canton, the dogwood city, sounds to me a lot more welcoming than simply North Canton. My second issue is that this push is coming from some master planning committee, a committee whose members I don't know, I never voted for, nor do they necessarily represent the views of the North Canton citizenry. Perhaps someone tonight can explain when and how this master committee solicited public comment on this issue. I think it is unconscionable for this council to pass this resolution if the public has not had an adequate opportunity to weigh in. The entire community deserves an opportunity to decide whether the dogwood represents who we are and not just a select few individuals. I find it ironic that one of the main goals of the master plan is to protect and promote green space, which I believe includes trees, yet we're not going to remove the dogwood designation. In conclusion, I'm not sure whether our fathers and grandfathers realized how well the dogwood represented our city when they passed the resolution in 1963. But whether it was intentional or just blind luck, it doesn't really matter. The dogwood perfectly symbolizes our small city, our strong schools and city services, our resiliency, our beautiful neighborhoods, our caring citizens, and everything that makes North Canton a desirable place to work and live. The dogwood represents our city as well as it did in 1963, if not better. I would ask that this resolution be tabled until the city gets further input from the community as a whole as to whether they want to continue to be known as the dogwood city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address council? Before state your name and address.
Chuck Osborne, 307 Frederick Street, Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. It is pretty well accepted in case law that courts will rarely meddle in the legislative actions and decisions made by elected bodies of city governments, as there is a presumption that representative governments are acting on behalf of their constituents. In 2005, while in the midst of a major renovation to our home, my wife and I became aware of legislation working its way through City Council, modifying or expanding an existing program called Community Reinvestment Area. The program provided an abatement of taxes on the increased valuation of property resulting from improvements to existing housing stock in the city. Mindful that $150,000 in improvements to our home was a substantial investment, and that we were indeed making improvements to the city's existing housing stock, my wife and I enrolled in the city's CRA program. The program, first implemented in 1999, was a legislative action of our elected representatives. Who are we to question the legislative action of North Canton City Council? Does anyone on the City Council believe the program has served our community in a positive manner over the 17 years the CRA program has existed in North Canton? And now this council wants to expand the CRA and make it a citywide program. I do not believe this program has served the city and has not since its inception. Was my home blighted and deserving of a tax abatement? After all, that was the purpose of the program. No, it was not blighted. Did my wife and I need a financial incentive to improve our property 11 years ago? Again, the answer is no. There are 7 other participants currently receiving tax abatements in the city's CRA program, and I can say without hesitation that they also did not need a financial incentive for the investments they made in their properties. 6 of the properties receiving tax abatements are corporations. 5 of the 8 properties receiving tax abatements are for new construction. 2 of the property owners receiving tax abatements are well-known individuals who are multimillionaires in our community. North Canton CRA program is nothing but a tax giveaway, pure and simple. The taxes that you are abating are revenue desperately needed by the North Canton City School District. On Sunday, April 3rd, 2016, the repository ran a front-page story titled, "Rebuilding the Vikings Coffers." This story is a prelude to what is looming for the North Canton City Schools. The abatement of property taxes for improvements, at most, should be limited to existing housing structures, as was the original purpose of the program. And with only 2 homeowners in 17 years utilizing the program to improve existing housing, with neither owner needing an incentive to do so, it is quite obvious that the entire program is another failure. In the spreadsheet I have passed around, I have tallied up the costs of the abatements to the city and the school district. For 2015, there has been a loss of nearly $100,000 in tax collections. 2/3 of that total would have gone to the schools. A tally of the foregone taxes over the full term of each of the 8 abatements totals $1,346,345. This loss will rise as property values increase over the years. The CRA is nothing more than a tax dodge that has predominantly benefited corporate interests and millionaires, all to the detriment of the North Canton City School District. Lastly, I want to call your attention to the abatement of taxes for the construction of a 40-unit apartment complex called Northridge Place Limited at 1303 North Main Street. This abatement is immoral and possibly illegal. It is also unfair to the taxpayers of North Canton. It is highly detrimental to the North Canton City Schools, and a backlash on this abatement could very well lead to the defeat of the next school levy. I have looked for a record of any council action on this abatement and have found none. Mayor Hill, the terms for this particular CR abatement have resulted in foregone property taxes in 2015 of $59,129. Over the 15th year of this abatement alone, the city and North Canton City School District will have foregone over $1 million in revenue on this one abatement. If your Director of Permits and Inspection, Mr. Bowles, made the unilateral decision to approve this abatement, and it appears he did, you should ask for his resignation. This loss of public funds on this abatement is unconscionable and can only result from malfeasance, misfeasance, or nonfeasance on the part of Mr. Bowles. Further, I ask that this council re-examine many of the CR abatements currently outstanding and terminate all the tax abatements that do not result in rehabilitation of existing housing structures in the city. Mayor, I have a letter here for you, backing up my request. Mr. Bowles, we certainly examined an amendment and terminated. This is utter incompetence.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Please take your seat. Anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward, state your name and address.
Miriam Hoffman, 320 Weber Avenue. I am in favor of the CRA for single-family older homes that need to be upgraded to improve neighborhoods, and for single-family lots where a new home could be put in an older neighborhood. developments having the CRA, $200,000 and $300,000 homes to pay no tax for 15 years, 100% abatement. Be they a small development or the large developments. And I'm here tonight to ask a favor of you. If sometime next week, before the discussion on the CRA, if you will drive down Apple Grove and look at the new buildings for the assisted living, independent living complex that's being built. The buildings are up. They're not finished, but the structures are up. Buildings are huge. It has to be worth multi-million dollars, those buildings. They sit right now on a piece of property directly west of the sanctuary. They're not part of the sanctuary, but they abut the sanctuary and they are directly west. And you can get a good view from Apple Grove. Take a look at those. See if you think that those buildings should have 100% tax abatement for 15 years. And while you're looking, remember, our schools need the money. And I'll say the same thing tonight that I said the last time I spoke. Don't cheat the kids.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward, state your name and address.
Melanie J. Roll, 308 Portage, North Canton. My comments tonight are about the CRA in general and revenue. At first blush, it would seem the CRA concept is a good way to help owners of the aging housing stock in the city to make improvements on their home and receive a tax benefit on those upgrades. However, I'm guessing the Ohio legislature could not pass up an opportunity to benefit local developers. This is in addition to decimating cities, schools, and libraries with reduced funding the last 5 years. I know you're all aware of how cities, libraries, schools have been hurt by what state government has done. Where will the needed revenue come from to fund the services citizens want and expect? State government is pointing the way to local levies. So will North Canton schools in the city ask voters for additional money? I'm guessing so. And how will those voters reconcile voting for increasing their tax bill when some businesses are getting tax abatements? North Canton has given more abatements to businesses than to homeowners. In fairness to Mr. Bowles, how can he say no to developers approaching him for these tax abatements? Perhaps you, council, should look again at the zoning code to see what should be placed where. I think there can be some improvements. This country, this state, and this city must reconcile how they intend to fund government and schools. It's a problem everywhere. There is much unrest among citizens nationwide as to who the rules are benefiting. We only need to look at the primaries for the presidency to get a picture of that. Are those benefits going to the top 5% of the income group, with the rest of us expecting to make up the difference? I think so. So I'm asking you to think of how the rules are made, who they are benefiting, and what you're asking citizens in this community to fund. Myself, I have always supported all levies during my whole voting career, which has been long. All schools, all municipal levies, all libraries. Yes, 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 yes. But something here is amiss. And no one likes to see someone get away with perhaps what is being lost from the schools from some of these abatements is not a good thing. The schools cannot make that up. So I'm asking you to think about what you're doing. My second topic is North Canton income tax, which is revenue. So you have property tax, which you pay. 2/3 of it mostly goes to the schools, which is a good thing. Some of you pay income tax here, some of you pay it wherever you work, or a combination of. I'd like to know from the finance director during her report if she would tell me, how does the city fund the folks that need to pay income tax? If you're living in a single home, you have the water department to help you find those folks and make sure that they pay. If you're in a 60-unit apartment building, how do you find them? So I'm asking for a mechanism so that everybody pays. I'm willing to pay my share, whatever it is. I'm willing to pay for tax increases if they seem reasonable, if everybody is in this together. Right now, it doesn't seem like everybody's in it together, and honestly, for the first time in my life, I might consider voting no for a school budget. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I am.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council? Please step forward, state your name and address. All right, seeing none, we will, oh, sorry. Yes, sir, please.
John Arnold, 95 Winston Road, Akron, Ohio, 44313. Actually, I'd like to take a quick moment here to tip my cap to all of you in regards to the CRA legislation. You're taking a proactive effort, and you're trying to protect our city from blight and from some economic downturn. And I think, well, we all here in North Canton feel as though we're isolated from those things. The time to act is right now, and to prevent that type of decline. Well, frankly, if you look at the recent passage of the Canton Comprehensive Plan, the city leaders down there, I believe 30 or 40 years ago, they had these tools and they had the foresight to put some of that legislation in action. I don't know if they'd be in the same situation that they currently are today. So the time right now, it's really an amazing golden opportunity each of you have to really prevent that within our city. So with that being said, thank you.
Thank you.
Eric, you have something?
Thank you for council's consideration. Mr. Osborne mentioned that I, as housing officer of the city, do not have the authorization to follow through with a real property tax exemption. I'm going to read from Section 7 of our Ordinance 2299. The housing officer is authorized and directed to receive applications and grant real property tax exemptions for new structures or remodeling completed after the date of the passage of this ordinance, and is further authorized and directed to make annual inspections of properties within the city CRA for which exemptions have been granted, and to keep the Housing Council and the Tax Incentive Review Committee, as defined below, appraised of any reprobations of the CRA tax exemption made for lack of adequate property maintenance or compliance with the CRA agreement in accordance with ORC 373568. And just calling down the manual for the CRA program mentions that the housing officer must verify the cost and the improvements and the elements of the CRA application. If the requirements for exemption are met, the housing officer shall provide the county auditor a copy of the application and certify that the improvements are exempt pursuant to the CRA program for the term designated in the CRA's authorizing legislation. There is no negotiation for flexibility on the part of the housing officer. We've been operating our program correctly in compliance with the ordinance.
Thanks, Eric.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
Anyone else wishing to address council, please step forward, state your name second to read by title only the third reading of ordinance number 23-16.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Six yes to read by title only the third reading of ordinance number 23, 2016, an ordinance authorizing the director of administration of the city of North Canton to seek bids for police and fire department dispatch services for the city of North Canton.
Thank you. And the chairwoman is not here today. I'll refer to the vice chair, Mr. Full. Any other comment?
No, I think we had a chance to review it, and we might have a week to approve it, right? Or so quickly we can
Yeah,
this legislative act, so.
Yeah, this is the third reading. This is what we've got. It's basically just authorized.
Right. So I'm in favor of it. We make the motion to approve the third reading.
Second.
Keeson,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Waring, Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
and Griffin.
Yes.
Six yes to adopt the third reading of ordinance number 23, 2016.
Thank you. Moving on to new business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 33-16.
So moved.
Second.
Peters,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
and Keeson.
Yes.
Six yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 33, 2016, an ordinance continuing community reinvestment area agreements between the city of North Canton and LMC Properties. And read through one.
Thank you. Chairwoman Keith.
Yes, anybody have any other questions? These are the two properties we spoke about, and they're up to date. Motion read out.
Second.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Keeson,
Yes.
and Peters.
Yes.
Six yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 33, 2016.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 34-16?
So moved.
Second.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Keeson,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
and Surratt.
Yes.
Six yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 34, 2016, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton, Ohio, to enter into a successor collective bargaining agreement between the city and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 3489 Firefighters Union, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Law Director Fox, Director of Administration Grimes, Finance Director Alger, for all your hard work in hammering out this agreement. Tim, you want to make a few comments?
Sure. This is a new 3-year agreement with our fire and EMS bargaining unit. This one went through as the others did as well, because the city was looking at trying to make sure that the contracts were clear to everyone that looked at those. There's no hidden stipends and that nature, but it's in line with the other ones that we've completed thus far. And because it's one of the safety services unions, it provides that it can go to conciliation. Just to wrap up with that, you start with collective bargaining. If you can't come to an agreement, if one side declares that there's an impasse, you go to fact finding. And fact finding brings in a arbitrator, and what happens there is the fact finder will let each side present. It's a lot of statistics and comparisons, and at that point, the fact finder makes a recommendation. But either side may reject them. And the case with this union, the fact finder's recommendation favored the city, so the union rejected and went to conciliation. Conciliation is much like fact finding, except instead of a recommendation, the conciliator provides a mandatory order. And what we were able to do with fire and EMS is to negotiate what that final order would be. So as I said, is in line with what we have negotiated with the other safety services unions, so I ask that you approve it without delay. The reason there is an emergency clause in there is because that's actually provided in the state statute. You have to do it without haste. So the necessity for the emergency legislation.
We can appreciate how long and arduous this process is. We thank you, all of you, for your efforts.
Thank you.
Any questions, concerns? With that, we will accept a motion and a second to adopt the first reading of ordinance 34-16.
Motion.
Second.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffin,
Yes.
Keesling.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
And Folds.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading ordinance number 34, 2016.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 34-16.
So moved.
Second.
Griffin,
Yes.
Keesling.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
6 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings. Ordinance number 34, 2016.
Thank you. Finally, we have a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 34-16.
So moved.
Second.
Keesling.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
And Griffin.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt under suspension of the rules for ordinance number 34, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 35-16.
So moved.
Second.
Peters.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
And Keesling.
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 35, 2016, and ordinance approving, confirming, and accepting a perpetual sanitary sewer easement for the rural property known as parcel number 1-000-7372, lying between the city of North Canton and Ohio Charter Municipal Corporation, grantee, and Charles W. Carroll, Jr. Clerk, Clinton, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. Chairman Fontaine.
Okay, we spoke about this last week. This is a housekeeping cleanup. We found that there was a potential agreement at the backside of Monticello where the cul-de-sac was. So as we were cleaning up the paperwork, we realized that, so we want to get that taken care of as an emergency. And it's just having access to the utilities. I move that we approve that first reading.
Second.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling.
Yes.
And Peters.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 35, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 35-16?
So moved.
Second.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
6 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 35, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 35-16?
So moved.
Second.
Fontaine.
Yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
And Folds.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt under suspension of the rules for ordinance number 35, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 36-16?
So moved.
Second.
Griffin.
Yes.
Keesling.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Surratt.
Yes.
Folds.
Yes.
Fontaine.
Yes.
6 yes to read by title only the first reading of ordinance number 36, 2016, and ordinance amending ordinance number 14, 2016, the East Maple West Gate at Walsh University Street Improvement Project, increasing the appropriation from not to exceed $250,000 to not to exceed $410,000 to declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you. Chairman Murphy.
We had a really good discussion last week in which our city engineer did a nice job of showing what the plans were and how things are going to work. And of course, this is the first step in a big, long, wonderful process on East Street there. We get moving because obviously this is
what they need to have moving in order to keep their construction process. Are there any questions or concerns relative to the appropriation? Again, thank you, Jim, for the presentation last week. I would move its approval.
Second.
Peterson,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
and Griffith.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading of ordinance number 36, 2016.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 36-16?
So moved.
Second.
Peters,
Yes.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
and Peterson.
Yes.
6 yes to suspend the rules of council for 3 readings for ordinance number 36, 2016.
Thank you. Finally, may I have a motion and a second to adopt under suspension of the rules ordinance number 36-16?
So moved.
Second.
Surratt,
Yes.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Peters.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt under suspension of the rules for ordinance number 36, 2016.
Thank you. And may I have a motion and a second to read by title only the first reading of resolution number 1-16?
So moved.
Second.
Folds,
Yes.
Fontaine,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
and Surratt.
Yes.
6 yes to adopt by title only the first reading of ordinance of resolution number 1, 2016, a resolution repealing and replacing resolution number 547, 1963, designating the city of North Canton as a Rockwood city.
Thank you. In the absence of Chairwoman Ware, I'll turn it over to Member Serrata.
Okay, good. A couple of things, and we've talked about this, and I want to mention a few things that Glenn brought up there. But you described some really eloquent descriptions of North Canton, and that is North Canton, whether we're called the Dogwood City or not. We had the 2012, for over a year, we had a good discussion on a lot of the master plan stuff. And one of the top things that was always brought up, one of the first things, and even when I became council, some of my friends would say, so what's in the safe? Why are we called the Dogwood City? People don't recognize North Canton as the Dogwood City or anything to do. And in fact, in the master plan, what most folks said is that anybody can be a Dogwood City or a Pine City, but we want to be something special. We want to be North Canton. That's who we are, North Canton, not have some kind of tagline. So that is one of the things that has driven this, is the master plan, the group that came out. I do happen to agree with that growing up here, that I didn't know why we were Dogwood City, and that I mentioned this before. There are beautiful trees. I would not put that down as giant trees. But they bloom 2 times a year, and they just blend in with the rest, and we really don't want to be known as something like that. And being just North Canton seems to be a little bit, who we are, and a more classy thing that came up in the master plan. So, there are other things I wanted to mention. But he did say some really nice things, and I believe strongly that we need to move forward. We don't need to move backwards. Let's just be North Canton, move forward, and make ourselves who we are. So, in my opinion of this, I'm going along with the master plan folks that have put this together, and I'd like to move a motion to continue with the second reading. Any other discussion?
Yeah, well, before you ask for that motion, for some of the folks in the audience that may not be aware of how the committee was put together and who it was comprised of, because there was a comment made that shadow organization that I don't vote for and whatever. Can you shed some light on who they are?
Well, it was put together mostly by the chamber, so it had nothing to do with us as a city or a government in the county. The chamber pretty much, and then the group came together and they looked at different sections of the city. We had people from the school committee, we had people from chamber, businesses, library, so it was a good cross-section of our city. They tried not to leave different sections out, and most of the lot was business or organizations, whether it be Rotary, Lions, and that type of things. And I believe that's how they kind of took this. And we had a couple, I think Marcia and I were the folks that were representing the city. And outside of that, then there were other folks that were invited in. We had no real power to have those in or not. They were chosen by the chamber, basically, the folks that were on the main committee.
There was a couple public
Oh, there's a lot.
meetings,
Oh,
at least
lots.
at Walsh University. and set up sections and displays and so
People could come in, they were broken up into groups, and I remember vividly, because I agreed with it, and this came up, not only this time, but the last time we did that, what was that called?
Yeah.
The Imagine North Canton, which was, maybe 5 years before that.
Right, please.
That also came up at that time. So it's something that has been coming up, and, the present people now really don't understand it, and don't know why, and really don't really care to be a Dogwood city or not. They want to live in North Canton, which is a great place to live, learn, work, and play, that kind of thing. That's kind of the tagline. So that's the direction that I know of, and I don't see any downside to it. I appreciate all the things that were said to our city, and if you get online, marketing, whatever the marketing group was, whatever they did, you get online, look and put your business somewhere, and you see someone called the Dogwood City. I don't know if that drives people here. The things that drive us here are our schools, our safety, and all the stuff that we have. Not the fact that we have dogwoods and we're going to bloom. And in fact, we probably have more pear trees now than dogwoods. So that's as far as any other discussion? That's as far as I know of the matter.
We're going to do 3 readings on this.
Right, we can have a good discussion.
Plenty of opportunity for people to participate in the discussion, which is important.
I was just going to say that, whatever you call it, carnation, dogwood, constitution, anything, it has to be, whatever it is, it has to be promoted so that it's ingrained in the minds and bodies of the people. So, I know everybody thinks of North Canton, not that we're better than anybody else, but it's a nice little 6-mile area of paradise in the sense that, we have great services, it's convenient, we have good stock, convenient location, good people overall, so, and the schools are awesome, so I'm happy about it.
I agree there should be other public comment on it, 1 or 2 more readings, and everybody can weigh in. I enjoy Dogwood Street. We have a very good tree, and hopefully we'll keep planting. We'll still have Dogwood Pool. Still, we're not renaming some of our existing parks, but in pools or infrastructure. So that said, we'll welcome more public comment. Okay, so the motion.
Second.
Second.
Fontaine?
Yep.
Griffith?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Surratt?
Yes.
And Spruill?
Yes.
6 yes to adopt the first reading on Resolution 1, 2016.
Thank you. Reports. Member Fox.
Okay, I have an important meeting I'd like to get on the public record, which is, it's short order, so the zipper ditch. There's going to be an important update on April 21st at 6 p.m. And I believe, I'm not sure if I know what day that is. Anybody know what day the 21st is?
April 21st, Thursday.
Okay, so April 21st at 6 p.m. It's open to the public. And we have an important update. We'll have Representative Schuring there, County Engineer, Stark Parks, and I would welcome the public as well as all the officials. We'll have some big news, and I highly recommend being there. And Mary Beth, if you could, mail out to the surrounding neighbors of that as soon as possible, if you could. We've done that before, just so that everybody's invited. Any questions? Okay.
Where is it?
Civic Center, thank you. North Canton Civic Center, the 21st of April at 6 p.m. Get some good information. That's all, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Member Keeson.
No report.
Member Griffith.
Glenn, I would echo, I thought you did a great job of eloquently describing our community, and I think what you described is a great thing. I was reminded, thanks to Pastor Mellis, who was here too, of that old Sunday school description of the song. I'm not going to sing it, but their church is not a steeple, the church is not a resting house, the church is the people. In other words, to quote the bard, a rose by any other name. So I think as we have our discussion about community, I think what we can be proud of when we're talking about this is the things that really are what make North Canton, as opposed to some other identity. Identity is North Canton. So I think that's great, and you described it eloquently, so thanks to you for that. As we all know, our finance director is now for retirement, and so we are in the process of finding a replacement for her, which will not be an easy thing, with certainty. And so we have pulled together a committee, and I think we've got an advertisement out too, Initially, the committee will include myself, Member Peters, President Peters, and Member Waring, and we have two folks from the outside who have knowledge in the accounting world. Mike Miners with the County Auditor's Office, and Ron Mance, who's a CPA, but is with Walsh right now. So again, two people who can give us an external and particular accounting perspective on the process as well. So if you have people who know or have expressed an interest, feel free to contact any of us or submit an application through the process. So that's what I've got.
Trevor Sherrod?
A couple of things that were come up with the stuff that was mentioned. I think I mentioned one about Dartmouth City already. And I can help understand this. I think, somebody mentioned the fact that, is it the sanctuary grant? Is that what it's called for the assisted living place over there? Okay, so help us understand here. There was nothing there before. Their taxes are what they are. Now you put something there, then the taxes get rated at that point. Is that correct?
Within a year.
What's that?
Within a year.
Within a year. So the taxes get, and then from there on, the next so many years is when the rebates or the tax exemptives, right? So, you know, there was nothing there before. So once something's there, then it's an increase in the tax value. So the schools do get something out of something put in there that they did not have there in the first place. So I want to make sure that I understand that, and everybody else understands that about how this program works here. So there's something to these programs, not only for the old stuff, which we want to improve, which is really the whole basis of the whole thing, and also so from some new stuff that could possibly put in certain areas right there. So the other thing, as reports, last week, busy week, met with the superintendent and the district officers with Eric, and we're still going to continue to have good connection, good communication with what's going on there. Also met with President Gisone at Walsh last week and put together, with all the things that are going to be going on out there with the University District, we want to make sure our communication is better than it ever was. And not only for that, but for a lot of the things that we want to do down the road. Walsh is like 1 and 2 for us as far as either income in or people that work in the city. So we want to make sure, now they've asked, and I've asked Councilman Ware, because that's in her ward, to be in that, and then any other folks. We're going to look at once a quarter for sure. We're just going to meet with President Gisone and his group and see, how things are going, any needs or what's going to happen out there. We want to make sure that everybody's aware, what's going on, what we're in charge of, what they're in charge of. So there's no lack of communication. So good meeting there. They're very excited about all that, and so are we. And outside of that, I think that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. A couple comments. One, I wanted to talk about Eric Bowles. Mayor Rice had the foresight to hire an excellent economic and community development person who had a wealth of experience. And Mayor Held had the intelligence to keep him on staff. And I think he's done nothing but excellent things for North Canton. So I appreciate your hard work. It's been a pleasure through the years working with you. I know we're striving to be a better community with housing and attractive businesses, and that's all Eric did here was use the tools in the toolbox that he had to bring something into North Canton. He took the negative. In fact, everybody knows that mobile home park was a terrible situation, and I felt sorry for some of the residents that lived there. There's no way I could help them, and I think if it's ever going to be improved in that situation, this was the time to do it. We turned that completely around. And if there was some tax abatement on it, so be it. I don't agree with it for new construction everywhere in the city, but I think that fulfilled the purpose there of turning that blighted area completely around. And a lot of those residents had to be relocated, to my knowledge, and hopefully they found a better place to live than where they were, because it really was a terrible situation for everybody involved. Had a lot of calls on it. I went up there quite often. I felt kind of helpless with what to do with it. Because it was private property, but it all worked out, I think, and I think that's something we need to realize here when we're discussing things. So, Eric, I want to compliment you on all your hard work, and I think this continued discussion about community reinvestment areas are something that needs to continue to happen. I think we're going to get this where it needs to go. This dialogue is good, it's good to, you know, to look and see what our possibilities are, what our revisions can be with the existing ordinances as they are. And I think our law director is going to weigh in on that, provide some insight there, that maybe we can do a better job of how we look at these properties in the future. Obviously, it should be for the older neighborhoods first and for residential first, in my opinion. But I'm not against some renovation of apartment complexes. I'm just not for building new ones everywhere on existing properties. I think that there's enough incentive with our great city as it is to fulfill those needs. I'm after the rehab in the neighborhoods and the new homes in the single family lots in the neighborhoods. That said, I also want to talk about Earth Week. Obviously, I think it was in the neighborhood news, but the library's doing a great job. I think even the solid waste district's weighing in on that statement. We can talk about it too. But this weekend, they're starting their spring market for like home foods or green foods for local markets, producers. We're having a recycling fair, bringing some of your older gardening equipment you don't need or want. And there's also electronic and battery drop-off. And I don't have all the information. I do have some postcards I picked up at the library. It is on the back of the North Neighborhood News. And if you're looking to dispose of some of those things, that's where it needs to happen. It's right here in our backyard. So look into that. That's a very good thing. Kind of ties in. There's going to be a cleanup at Price Park with the Tom Todd organization, the 23rd, which is 2 weeks, 1 week from Saturday. And then Georgiana Webb puts this together just to have a printout of our North Canton Cleanup Day. So anybody that's interested, hopefully we can put it on our website. Dr. Doug Lange did put something in there. We'll get copies out to the public. But hopefully we have a good participation with anybody who wants to get involved. It's just not doing it that day. I think all residents and business owners should have pride and clean up through that week. Take some time during the spring. Do what you can for your properties. Then anybody else who wants to get involved, it'll be Saturday, April 30th from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll meet right down at the City Hall door on the west side of the parking lot. I'll be involved with that. And I'm still going to have some forms that I want our letter to review before we go out as a community and help clean up our beautiful North Canton City. Excuse me?
Bring donuts.
Show me what to bring donuts. I'm sure they won't be carried down. Okay. Thank you.
All set? All right, thank you. And remember, folks, I'm glad you mentioned that. Eric Bowles does very good work for us. One of the hardest working guys I think I've ever met. Heart's in the right place. We appreciate all your efforts. So thank you very much. We've got a few housekeeping measures. I'm going to need a motion and a second to move. And I don't want to steal the mayor's thunder, but we have the State of the City address April 25th, along in conjunction with, I think, Treasurer Colson is going to be doing for the schools. So we need to move that legislative meeting to the 18th, which is next Monday. And then we'll do a dual meeting. We'll do the legislative first, committee following, and that's on the 18th, next Monday. I need a motion and a second to move that. 7 o'clock. 7 p.m. Yes.
I'll make a motion to change the date for a council meeting. I'll go online with our committee.
Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we'll be moving the legislative meeting to the 18th, starting at 7 p.m., committee to follow. And secondly, the Planning Commission at their last meeting approved the vacation, or approved, recommended the vacation of a portion of Orchard Avenue Northeast and Whitworth Northeast. And we need to schedule a public hearing. And 6 weeks out, I'm looking at May 23rd. That would be a Monday. That would be a legislative.
Probably about 15 minutes prior to the regular meeting.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
Yes.
No, that's not one.
It's a following Monday.
Did we get the revisions of what they did, how they modified it from what
I
was?
haven't come yet.
Okay, I'd like to see that.
hearing for the vacation furniture and footwear, 6:45. And that's it. Laura.
Thank you for passing the legislation to permit the city to enter into the bargaining agreement with fire and EMS. I would be remiss if I didn't recognize them, as well as our other bargaining units, police, services, water treatment plant. I think that's one of the major reasons why people come to North Canton, in addition to the other ones that were mentioned, are the terrific services that the city provides to its residents, and fire and EMS is just one of those. So thank you for that, and kudos as well for Eric Bowles. He has one of the most difficult jobs I think there is in the city. When you say, who do you call about a housing issue or something needs to be cleaned up, or I don't like the look of that area, something of that nature, we direct them to Eric to handle it for us. So it's kind of one of those thankless jobs. You don't notice it once, perhaps when it's cleaned up, unless you're keeping an eye on it, or he takes care of it before it's presented to you. So I just wanted to piggyback on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Director of Finance.
This week is the full last week for income tax, so make sure you get your income tax in. We are getting a traffic pickup. To answer, Melanie, some of your concerns, we use every avenue that we can to identify individuals, from the utility department to an ordinance that's passed at ordinance 191.12, which is rental property, and that requires the owner to identify the resident as to the address and the name. So that comes to all the tax department. We also, any new businesses that come in, Eric Bowles under that other hat, notifies all commercial industry, anybody that comes in, gives a form that has to come in with address. We communicate with other cities. If there's a refund, we communicate back and forth. That lets us know. And finally, we use the Ohio filing list. When we go with the regional income tax authority, they will also do the federal level. So that will allow us even more access. And then I just wanted to let council know the state auditors has to audit OPNS, and we were pulled as one of the cities to audit. Lucky us. But they said once we get an audit, it's about 1 years that we'll get another one. We will charge a minimum amount of $492. That I didn't agree with, but hey, everything went smooth, and so I thank the payroll master for allowing that to make it smooth. It was a little difficult because we had 3 people in that year, and we also had 2 different software systems. So it was a little bit of hiccup, but it went through, and we got pretty smooth done. And so I thank Shanna and Finance Department. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Director of Administration.
Our electric aggregation process is moving along. The PUCO has certified us as of Friday. We hope to have a price to put out, and people being able, if they wish, to get into that and probably turn the electric on June or July. So that process will speed up here shortly, and we'll get some things out. But we got another little small order to work out some wording, and then we'll be able to move on that. If I was remiss, I didn't give you a notice, but we are collaborating with some Walsh students too. They want to come here and make a presentation at some point. So if you didn't get that email, I'll get it to you. It's been sitting in my inbox, so I can get it to you. But Mr. Davis works with them, and they do some things for us too, and collaborate that way. Working on the contract extension for the Kimball. Our preliminary survey results is really good for that company, but we're trying to work out some things. The issue I have right now is recyclable costs are down, and so I'm trying to work through that. We did just bid out a new
the cleaning contract for our city buildings, that came back in our favor. Also, the person that just happened to get it low bid is a North Canton City resident and owns a business, so that was nice to see on top of the low bid for me. We do have 2 full-time positions open in the service center. We just put another one out on the website today. We had the other one out for the last couple of weeks. These are due to some past retirements, and so we've got 2 full-time jobs out there. People can look on the internet. We also have been advertising in the local papers too. So, but if you know anybody, tell them to make sure they get an application in. Eric, I'm glad to have Eric on the staff. I'm lucky to have Eric on the staff. He's a hard worker. Not only is he a smart guy, but he cares. He's very compassionate about what he does. He doesn't make any decision lightly, so he's always, you can call him any time of day, any time of night, and he's there. So he's, and so I appreciate it for him. I just want to publicly state that he's a good person on our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mayor.
Yes. First off, Mr. Albacetti, this is fascinating. I'm sitting here thinking, if you gave me the tools, you made the precise cuts and gave me the glue, I still haven't figured out how one, let alone all of these. So you did put these together yourself, right?
I did indeed, yes.
Yeah, this is like an example of true diligence and persistence. So thank you for bringing these up. I'm going to keep this. And then also John Snyder, our former council president, back in the room there. Welcome. Thanks for coming back.
Sitting here, it's very nice.
No public speaks either, right?
Just listen.
Yeah, good.
John, how's the volume right there?
It's good.
You can hear it? Okay.
Just following up on those speakers and stuff.
Just smile.
And also we have the spring cleanup, and the North Canton Library is going to be hosting an e-waste collection, which, this is great to have in the city. It's really nice that they're championing that. They did apply for a grant, as a number of other communities throughout the star, Tuscarawas and Wayne County did, to the solid waste district. So whenever you have a community that is willing to collect e-waste, because it does require a lot of work, we can assist them with that. And so they're going to be doing one right here in the city of North Canton. And also Doug for heading up the spring cleanup. It's amazing over the years when you look at what makes North Canton great, and it's 2 things that it comes down to. Number one, it's the people that live in the city, the people who work in the city, and really, it sounds like a very simple goal, but it's like people want a city that is safe and that is clean. And so when you look at our police, fire, and EMS departments, every one of those departments has over 90% good and excellent rating with our city survey. And the other thing that's one of our most valuable tools is the street sweeper. When you look at our city streets that are really clean, with the exception of transition from winter to the spring. But you can tell when you go to other cities, you look at the curve, you look at the city streets, and that's where North Canton really shines for a nice clean city. The other is I'd like to comment on also the comments on Mr. Salem and the Dogwood City. I've never heard the Dogwood presented in that way, but it's little and it's tough, and I love that analogy. So thank you for bringing it up, because I think it does represent North Canton. We are a small city, but we are a strong, resilient city. So thank you for those comments. And as far as the CRA and Mr. Osborne's comments, and also Melanie and the others that we had here, Mrs. Baughman, it's, when you look at it, we never want to give away. We don't want to give away tax dollars, but we do want to incentivize. And so the big question is whether you're looking at an occupancy grant or you're looking at the CRA, what truly is an incentive? What is an incentive to one property owner may not be an incentive to somebody else. But it's really up to the council and the administration to identify what is going to be an incentive. And one example is the CIC. Back in a number of years ago, when the Hoover Company left, We took over $400,000 and we put that up for the gantry cranes and Myers Control Power. We had a lot of critics saying, why would you take tax dollars and invest that with Myers Control Power? And Eric reported on that today. We've not only received the full amount back, but that was the first anchor. That was the first anchor tenant. And IRG, Maple Street Commerce, said, your biggest challenge is going to be your first anchor tenant. And didn't we know that? And then from that point on, we had other businesses that signed up for leases. So it's really easy to criticize the CRA, the Community Reinvestment Area, and in some cases it's not warranted, just in my opinion. And in other cases, we desperately need it because we want people to improve their properties. Or as another comparison would be occupancy grants or CIC reinvestments. So I think they're great tools, but we just have to examine on a case-by-case basis how we use them in the city. And then also Tobias, well-spoken young man. Very proud to have you here. You weren't planning to speak, you weren't even planning to sit up here. You are well composed and a very poised young man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, a true gentleman. And you're always welcome in our city. Anytime to do well.
Appreciate that.
And then lastly, I have an opportunity to go to these mayor conferences, not conferences, but these meetings. And so you get to talk to a lot of mayors that are speaking for the first time, or serving for the first time. And you could just tell the weight of the responsibility that they have being a newly elected official. And one of the things that I always tell them is that people want a clean, safe city. And I said, number two, it's all about the people. If you have good staff members that have a desire to serve other people, that makes the difference. That is everything. It is all about the people. So with that, Eric's been working with the city since Tom Rice was mayor and since I've been mayor. And Eric has a tough job because it's his job to go out, look at economic development opportunities, present them to the council. He's not the one that is making the approvals. He's presenting this to the council and the administration. And after he puts in a lot of hours and a lot of work, then I criticize it, my girl criticizes it, council criticizes it, and we say, oh, it's not personal, Eric, but it is just the nature of his work. I always refer to Eric as like a human encyclopedia. I mean, he starts racking off, different terms. Then you have to ask him. It's like, well, I don't know what the 1096 is, or the 64AXZ application. So I have to ask him to break it down. But it just demonstrates his knowledge that he has, and also he's just a good person. Friday night, he's at my house dropping off the CIC packet at 8 o'clock, entertaining my kids, entertaining the dogs. And then he still has to go back and do more office work. So I don't want to, and oftentimes I just never get a chance to thank you for all the work you do, Eric. But since the subject came up, you certainly have my support and appreciation, as well as Mike Ryan and the council for the work you're doing. So please keep up the good work. Jim? You too. I appreciate you too.
Board of Control will be looking at that tonight to award that. Should also be starting in May. The Salway Waterline Project, we opened bids on that this Friday. And probably start construction on that in June. And then also we have the resurfacing. So we haven't put that out yet. If you have any streets, the streets, there's the last call.
Can you show us the street so I know
No.
where you're on?
I don't have the final list yet, but if you have any other streets that are, I mean, I sent you the, I think.
You sent us the original list, but I sent you a couple.
Right, yeah, I've got those. So, yeah, as soon as I get that list, I'll send it out. But if you, any others while you're out driving around that you'd like to add, let me know. Except for you, you've got enough.
We have money for drain crates, because I'm starting to see drain crates, so we're starting to work on it.
Yeah, we're working on the streets that are on the resurfacing program. We replace those, we check those. Any other catch basins, Mike Battershell, street superintendent, he has a separate program, and he goes and replaces those. Notice he's already started that program and replacing some catch basins already. So if you have specific catch basins.
St. Paul, someone just told me they almost drove in a hole in St. Paul's coming out of the parking lot. So I didn't get a chance to look at it yet. I'm sorry about it.
The one last project I wanted to make note of is on East Maple Street, at the stats meeting today, applications for grant are due June 3rd. So I'm planning to apply for a grant for East Maple Street for the sidewalks and the streetscape elements out at Walsh. Sidewalks going from Taft all the way out to University. I'll be looking at those over the next couple of weeks. I'd like to meet with Councilman Ferretta to see what your envision for those. Anything different than just replacing some sidewalks and then extending some crosswalks in. And then out at the university where we talked about the center medians and street lights, decorative street lights, and so forth. Eric, I work with Eric every day if you want the real scoop on Eric. Eric's a great guy. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Well, the only thing I have to say is I really don't have a report. I haven't for a couple weeks, but I do just want to say I do enjoy working with Eric. I do. Sometimes I try to disguise my voice by calling, but he knows it's me. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to adjourn this meeting, but council will get you comfortable. We have an executive session. We're going to reconvene. Final call for new business. We got anything else before I entertain a motion to adjourn? All right, everyone adjourn.
Motion.
Second? Second. All in favor, say
Thanks,